Hello and welcome to the Week 9 edition of the Pickwatch podcast. I'm Casey Joyner, the football scientist. You might remember me from my 14-year stint with ESPN where I covered the NFL and fantasy football. I'm now on the independent path via my website, thefootballscientist.com, and I'm also doing a weekly pick'em article for Pickwatch. My Week 8 picks went 8-6, bringing my 2020 season mark to 81-37, or a 68.6% win rate. Here are my Week 9 picks. Each section details which team is predicted to win and provides a quick summary of why that selection was made. The picks also contain a confidence value for each selection based on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being the most confident and 1 being the least confident. Now on to the picks. Let's start with the Thursday night game of Green Bay at San Francisco. The Packers started the year with 4 straight wins, but have since lost 2 out of the past 3 in large part due to allowing 150 more rushing yards in both of those losses. This lack of ability to deal with a power rushing game has haunted the Packers in recent years and might pose a big problem against San Francisco were it not for the slew of injuries to the 49ers roster. Those ailments have caused San Francisco to use backup players at nearly every position on the team, and that gives the Packers the edge in this contest with a confidence level of 4. Next up is Denver at Atlanta. Both of these teams have turned things around to some extent after terrible starts, as Atlanta has won 2 of its past 3, and Denver has notched victories in 3 of its last 4 games. Defense has been the key in both of these turnarounds, as the Broncos have tallied 6 takeaways in the past 3 contests, while the Falcons have allowed 23 or fewer points in 4 straight games. The tiebreaker here is turnovers, as Denver's error-prone offense has given up 2 turnovers in all but 2 games this year, while Atlanta hasn't had more than 1 turnover in a game since Week 1, so the Falcons are the pick here with a confidence level of 5. This should be one of the more entertaining games of the week, Seattle at Buffalo. Buffalo's offense has been in a slump ever since the Tennessee Titans gave the league the blueprint to slow this former juggernaut. Seattle's defense might have afforded this platoon a turnaround opportunity a few weeks ago, but the Seahawks just allowed their lowest yardage total of the year last week and have racked up at least 2 takeaways in all but 1 contest. Add that to Seattle having scored 31 or more points in 6 games this year, and it equals a lot more paths to victory for the Seahawks, so they are the selection of this one with a confidence level of 7. Now we'll head to a potential slugfest matchup of Baltimore at Indianapolis. This is a tough game to call because while both of these teams sport 5-2 records, they also have their share of question marks. Baltimore has posted fewer than 200 net passing yards in 5 of the past 6 games and has given up 28 points in 2 straight games. 3 of the Colts' wins have come against the Jets, Bengals, and Lions, and they have allowed 80 points over the past 3 weeks. Both teams have notable injuries, but Baltimore's potential COVID-19 issues and this game being at Indianapolis are strong enough elements to land this pick in the Colts column with a confidence level of 3. Now we head to the AFC South for Houston at Jacksonville. Minshew mania finally may be coming to an end for Jacksonville, as rookie Jake Luton will be taking over for the injured Gardner Minshew. That could be a huge impediment to Jacksonville putting up points, as the Jaguars scored 16 or fewer points in 3 of the past 5 weeks, even with Minshew under center. Houston will also benefit from facing a Jaguars defense that has given up 400 or more yards in 4 straight games. Jacksonville just isn't suited to keep up in a high-scoring contest, so the Texans get this pick by a solid margin with a confidence level of 7. This game may have the highest superstar ratio in the league, Carolina at Kansas City. Carolina's offensive struggles could come to an end since Christian McCaffrey is slated to return to the lineup for this matchup. That will obviously help the ground game, but CMC's bigger impact could be to help a Panthers passing attack that has posted fewer than 200 net yards in 2 of the past 3 weeks. The Chiefs' all-star offense gets all the headlines for Kansas City, but their defense has racked up at least 1 takeaway in every game and has allowed fewer than 230 offensive yards in 2 of the past 3 games. Those elements and home field advantage point this matchup in Kansas City's direction with a confidence level of 8. Now we head to the NFC North for Detroit at Minnesota. Lions head coach Matt Patricia has wanted to lean on a powerful rushing attack for his entire tenure in the Motor City, but 89 rushing yards over the past 2 games combined shows that it just isn't happening despite his efforts. That hasn't been an issue for Minnesota, as the Vikings have racked up 160 or more rushing yards in 4 of the past 5 weeks, and have an even higher ceiling based on Dalvin Cook's incredible performance last week. Minnesota has been a more volatile team this year, but given how these 2 teams trended in Week 8, the Vikings are the pick with a confidence level of 5. This is one of the more intriguing games of the week, Chicago at Tennessee. Chicago had mastered the art of winning low-scoring games in the first 6 weeks of the year, but that approach finally caught up to them during their current 2-game losing streak. A total lack of a ground attack is the main cause, as the Bears are tied fewer than 70 rushing yards in 4 of the past 5 contests. The Titans were embarrassed by giving up 31 points to an injury-racked Bengals offense last week, but Tennessee's offense has tallied 440 or more yards in 3 of the last 5 games, and should move the ball well against a Bears club that has allowed 50 points in the past 2 contests. Throw in this being a home game for the Titans, and it moves this selection in the direction, but only with a confidence level of 2. Now we're off to the NFC East for the New York Giants at Washington. These teams have a combined total of 3 wins between them, but they are actually both playing at a much higher level of late. Washington's offense took a significant step forward following the quarterback change, and the football team tallied 208 rushing yards and nearly 400 total yards last week in a dominant win over the Cowboys. The Giants would like to have at least a couple of additional victories were it not for Daniel Jones' penchant for turnovers, a trait that could be a hindrance against a Washington defense that has posted 5 takeaways in the past 4 games. Combine that factor and Washington's home field advantage, and the selection ends up in their column, but only with a confidence level of 3. Now we head out to the left coast for an AFC West matchup of Las Vegas at the LA Chargers. Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn used to be a running backs coach, and thus would like to lean heavily on the ground game. But Justin Herbert's go-for-broke style has led to the Chargers playing him 4 straight shootout games. Raiders head coach John Gruden also prefers the pound-the-rock approach, but his team has also been in 3 shootout games this season. This game will be a toss-up if each coach gets his way and turns this game into a slugfest, but with the Chargers having won only 1 of their shootouts, and the Raiders having won all 3 of theirs, it means the Raiders get the edge in a high-scoring matchup and then the overall selection with a confidence level of 3. This is the Styles Clash matchup of Week 9, Miami at Arizona. This is one of the more interesting matchups of the week, as both the Dolphins and the Cardinals come into this contest with 3-game win streaks. Miami has won largely on the strength of their up-and-coming powerhouse defense that has posted 8 takeaways, 10 sacks, and 2 defensive touchdowns during their win streak. Arizona's victories were more due to having racked up 1,453 yards and 105 points in their trio of wins. Great defense does tend to travel well, so this is the definition of a pick-em matchup, but the Cardinals' advantage at quarterback and being at home is enough to shift this pick their way with a confidence level of 2. This is hands down the mismatch pick of Week 9, Pittsburgh at Dallas. Were it not for the New York Jets being the worst team in the NFL, this would be a matchup of the hottest and coldest teams in the league. The Steelers are battling some defensive line injuries that were part of why they gave up 265 rushing yards last week, so Dallas does have a path to establish a ground game. That won't be anywhere near enough, however, as Pittsburgh has tons of passing game talent and a rush game that should put up big yards against a Cowboys defense that has allowed 110 or more rushing yards in all but 1 game this year. Combine that with Dallas starting a 4th-string quarterback against the league's best defense, and it gives the Steelers pick a rare 10 confidence level. Now we're off to a fun NFC South showdown of New Orleans at Tampa Bay. This battle for the NFC South lead features 2 of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, yet the reality is the passing game is not the strongest suit of either of these clubs. Tampa Bay's best trait is a defense that is tied for the league lead in takeaways and ranks 2nd in yards allowed per play. For the Saints, it is a ground game that has posted a triple-digit yardage total in 5 of the past 6 contests, and has been invaluable in helping this team overcome the potentially crippling loss of Michael Thomas. The tiebreakers here are home field advantage and Tampa Bay's passing offense having displayed much more firepower than the Saints, so the Buccaneers get this one by a reasonable margin with a confidence level of 4. Last up is what is honestly a lackluster Monday night matchup of New England at the New York Jets. The Patriots have to be the most disappointing team in the NFL. Their problems are on both sides of the ball, as they have scored only 49 points in the past 4 games and gave up 387 rushing yards and 57 points in the past 2 contests. This trend might normally lead to a pick against the Patriots, but New York has the worst offense in the league by a gargantuan margin. Bill Belichick's play calling should allow the Patriots to maximize the edge of this platoon matchup, and that leans this pick fairly strongly in New England's direction with a confidence level of 7.